Hello. So, welcome to the 101 Foundations of Network Monitoring. I'm Destiny Bertucci, and I feel like I need some theme music here for a little bit. But if you guys are here and you're joining with us, please say hello. We're going to kick this off in just a moment. I want to make sure that we get everybody in here. See some familiar names. Hello. All right. Hi, everyone, and welcome to the first session in our NMS Accelerator series, Foundations of Network Monitoring. I'm Destiny Bertucci, and over the next about 40 minutes, I can be a little long winded, but I will try to keep it to 40 minutes so we can get to some of the questions. I'll be your guide through the core building blocks of the network monitoring. Whether you're an MSP working across many clients or if you're an internal IT responsible for a single environment, the fundamentals that we're covering today will set the stage for a stronger, more reliable operation. And you'll kind of see as we go through this series. I want to make sure that you know this is educational, this is knowledge based, this is foundational work of which that we're doing. I'm not going to constantly be trying to reference things within Domotz at all. There's things that we all need to know together, and I want to be able to be kind of a facilitator in this and be your guide as well as to help answer these questions. So let's get moving on here and see what else we got here. So, if you do not know me, my name is Destiny Bertucci. I have over 22 years in IT monitoring and management. I started in networking. That's how I came into network management. I'm also in cybersecurity and information assurance, and I'm finishing a degree right now in risk management as well as insurance because I'm trying to make sure that I understand how all this kind of meshes together, right? Like we're all in it together. I'm looking to be more like into advising you on how to be better facilitated to help either your clients or help yourself so that we can be more advisor led and understand things. I love to learn. I have many certifications because I just get passionate about things. I'm currently in a lot of AI training, and I have a deep passion for tech and networking. So ask me the questions. If I don't know it, I can definitely be able to figure this out and be able to get back to you. I will leave my email address here too because I have so many people who reach out to me after webinars through LinkedIn and messaging, and I'm not always on there. But if you email me, I would be more than happy to help you through and answer some of those questions. And if I don't have the answer, I will find that for you. We have such a strong team here that just loves helping us to be able to answer those for you and to help you to guide you into the correct directions that you're trying to go. So what do we have on the block today? Can you hear me now? I just seen that where somebody was saying they couldn't hear me. Want to make sure before I proceed. Okay, perfect. I just wanted to make sure because this is going to be some great stuff, right? Like I can't like have a miss out here. So please call me out if you can't hear me. All right. So the agenda, why monitoring matters, the role of NMS in tech stacks, which I'm super excited to talk about because in our last webinar, we actually had some people asking, well, what is RMM versus this? And what does this do? And if I have this, we're going to get there. And then the deployment strategies of where NMS belongs and also where maybe it doesn't belong. And then what to monitor, not just like from a devices, but also metrics. And then establishing a baseline and what that actually means. And then some practical scenarios. And then of course we're going to get into some Q&A. And like I said, if we can't answer all questions, I will make sure that you have a way to contact me so that I can help to facilitate that and get those answered for you. So let's kind of dive in here, right? The problem without monitoring. So what happens when we're not monitoring, right? Well, if you've been in IT long enough, and I've been here for quite a while, you'll know chaos. I hear a lot of people who will talk and they're like, "Oh, it's nice to have monitoring," or, "Oh, well, I have all of this proprietary tools from these different devices or from this different software that gives me a little bit of what's going on." But that's not really true, is it? And also when we think of proprietary software, you're believing that they're saying their stuff is great. I mean, that happens across everything, right? And that's something that we need to talk about. Agnostic monitoring is vital. And it's also it's not an in replace of by any means. You should be able to have a backup. Have we ever heard of those? Like, we have to have backups of every processes that we have, because that a way if something goes down, we're not losing visibility. If something goes down on either side, we can validate information, and we're not just being spoon-fed information and taking it as that's the only way that anything of which that can go. And so downtime can be very expensive across the board, not just if you have a monitoring tool. We put ourselves into this reactive firefighting mode. And what I have seen happen is, like, a lot of people will full force fight the fire and cause a little bit more damage than actually needed to be done because you didn't know the actual problem. And I'll get into a little bit more of that. When we have blind spots, we don't know, right? And if without any visibility, we have no control. And if you've followed me long enough, I'm kind of a control freak, right? Like, I want to be able to know what levers can I pull, especially on security side. I want to be able to know what controls need to exist and what is actually going out across there. In a world of cyber insurance as well that is out there that I know we're being hit with. I was just in Denver when people were struggling with their cyber insurance, just for the simple fact of they didn't understand the contract that they were signing. So things that they thought would be actually insured were not, because they weren't implementing the actual requirements within their own contract. And so I'm going to try to help with some of these things and some of these questions and at least give us a strong foundation. And then we're going to actually go into our part two of the series so that we can actually build upon that. And so as we move through this accelerator series, today's session is all about the foundation, visibility, baselines, and understanding what to monitor. Our next session is actually going to be moving from visibility into proactivity. So we'll go beyond simply just the foundational levers and what devices, the metrics, why do we have these metrics, into more of how do we be more proactive? How do we be smarter with our alerting? How do we use our maps? And how do we actually solve issues before the user knows or before they become a headache to ourselves? And that's where monitoring shifts from being just safety net into more of a real strategic plan. And then as a lot of you know, if you're following the series, we will even go deeper into that into part three. So, Jace, if you want to put up the part two link as well, we can do that. And I'll also address it later on also. So, this is the fun part for me, why monitoring matters. So, you guys can put your comments in there. I'd love to hear them. Why do you think monitoring matters? Because one of the things that I want to talk about is it brings three essential benefits: visibility, prevention, and efficiency. But what is visibility, right? We can see what's in our environment all in one place. So this goes back to where I was talking about, hey, if we have proprietary tools that are set only for what they have, you're only seeing a part of what potentially could be the problem or not the problem, right? You're not seeing holistically across multi vendors or tech stacks what something could actually be at fault, causing a problem. Actually see the problem so that you can fix the correct problem and not create more issues. Second is prevention. If we have disruptions and we're not able to actually do the things that we need to do, we snowball events. And if we don't know how to prevent the snowball from actually forming, we're in a worse situation, right? We're always firefighting, we're always doing some of these things. So if we prevent, then we're able to then have that understanding of our environment. We're able to breathe the environment. We're able to understand it so that we can set up alerts. We can set up awareness. We can look at our views that we set up and we can actually say, hey, that's an anomaly. I need to check that out before it's like a 4 alarm fire, right? Like, those are the things that we need to do. And by having the visibility and seeing things holistically, as well as setting up, once you understand the visibility, the prevention of what could possibly happen or awareness of what's happened before and you've set controls in place to prevent it again, that's what brings you into efficiency. When we boost efficiency, we are reducing the wasted time and the resources, but mainly the monitoring is saving you time. You're allowing this tool to save you money. And instead of chasing false leads or running around manual checks or anything, you're actually directly at the problem. And then you're able to discuss this problem. And when we have these discussions openly, that is when we are able to prevent better, understand our environments better, implement more controls, understand when we go into contractual obligations from either insurance wise, between customers, service level agreements, being able to talk to my boss about what I'm doing all day, I can articulate that. I can articulate it in a way that I understand, as well as the people that need to understand this. I can validate the need for more cost, for if I need more budget. I can validate why I need to actually implement new hardware, new firmware versions. These are the things that we're going to go through. And one of the things that I truly love about Domotz is the philosophy. Visibility is a foundational and 100% necessary. You should not have to have bridges and gates in front of you to be able to know what you don't know, right? And that's something that I strongly agree with. I have been in network monitoring for a very long time, and it's something that I'm just love. Discovery, topology, all of these things. It's the basis, and it's because it's the foundational layer that's going to help us grow not only internally as an MSP and with our technicians, but with our users, with our customers. And if I'm internal IT, it helps me grow as a tech because I'm not firefighting. I am training, I am understanding, I am making my environment, my network more efficient. Because the first thing I always say if something goes wrong is what changed, right? Like, how many people say that? What changed? Why is it changed? Who changed it? What was the cause that made you make that change? What happened after that change? That's very vital, especially in networks. And having that tracking is something that's hugely important. And you don't have that if you don't understand the visibility. So this is one of my favorite slides, and this is the role of NMS in this tech stack. So I wanted to really kind of focus this in. NMS in the bigger IT stack. What does it actually do? I like to compare things to health in your body because if you're on this call, you have a body, right? Like this is something that we can all relate to and try to understand this. So when I think about this, NMS is really your eyes and ears on the network. It shows you device health, performance, and availability. And availability is not just uptime, folks. Availability is a lot stronger. Availability is how long has this been up? What is my service level agreement? How can I define that? How can I showcase that? This is the importance when we're talking about users, when we're talking about people that we are responsible for their everyday with their critical services. This is what we are responsible for that I have to relay to my boss to say, why was nobody able to access this? Well, I better be able to have my eyes and ears on to showcase the availability and how that was actually performing. An RMM tool, on the other hand, is more focused on the endpoints. So it's like patching, antivirus, scripting, remote control. So it's like your vaccines, your vitamins, your antibiotics, the things like that. NMS is like, here I am, this is where I'm at, this is my actual baseline. This is who I am. This is my environment. This is what I am. RMM is like, great, time to get that vaccine. Or great, time to take your antibiotic. Or hey, you know what? Maybe you need some vitamins today, right? Or a little caffeine on my side. So those are some of the things of which that RMM actually does. It focuses on the doing part and maintaining the health and the consistency. So NMS is who I am, how I perform, what I look like, how I dress every day. That's my environment, right? And RMM is like, how do I continue that health? How do I continue that to come forward? And how do I keep proactively making this a better situation, right? And then your PSA tools sit above that. So this is handling your tickets, your reporting, this is your workflows. So what this is going to allow you to do is I like to think of this as like when I log into my healthcare, right? And I have like a history of everything of which that's going across here. This is allowing me to know my next steps. This is allowing me to know how I'm doing. Did I actually follow my what the doctor said, right? Like, did I actually take my vitamins? Did I actually do things? That's where PSA is. So when we're talking about this, I want to make sure that people don't try to do oh, I have RMM, so I don't need NMS, or I have NMS and I don't need RMM. That's not the case. These are complementary to each other. And the RMM keeps the endpoints managed, and the NMS is what actually keeps the network visible and healthy. Excuse me. And the PSS ties it all together with the workflows. So it's not an either or, it's complementary and it's something that we should look at holistically. So I wanted to make sure that we had a strong basis before we dived in. On automated discovery, right, and inventory, this is vital for everyone. So first and foremost, when I come into an environment, and I have done consulting for MSPs before, I always ask, like, "Well, what do you do for this company if they're in healthcare? Well, what if you do it for this company if they're in banking or financial?" And I kinda get a blank stare sometimes, not every time, but I'm just saying I've kinda gotten a blank stare. And the reason for it was they didn't think about their clients being verticals. And if I'm internal IT, what vertical are you sitting in? Are you in healthcare? Are you in management? Are you in an enterprise? Are you in an office? Are you in a SaaS? Or, like in my case, software, things like that. These are the things that you have to know, or you'll never understand your attack vectors. You won't understand how to be a business advisor because you have a plethora of knowledge as an MSP when you're looking at everyone that's coming across, because you're able to then see and say, "Hey, you look like me. They're doing this. I'm doing that." So then we can actually complement each other to come across. And I'm going to fix my video real quick. Okay. And so when we look at this, we have to understand who we are. So when we discover devices, we can compare. And when you compare, that's when you really get some true data and when you can actually start making some confident decisions. When I look out there, I want to know, is this a Cisco shop? Is this a Palo Alto shop? Is it a combination of? What protocols? What kind of compliance are they needing? What are the things that I need to be concerned about? And what should I know when I discover these about my client or about my environment? Does it follow? Does it meet? It starts with the discovery. I need something that's going to quickly be able to automatically scan the network and know what they're connected to. I need to build a live environment of routers. I need it to build, all of my layer 3, my layer 2, everything of which that I can see there. So that's routers, switchers, servers, right? I need updates as devices are added or removed. I don't need a blind spot. I do not need a blind spot because if I am going to be able to monitor and manage efficiently and effectively, I need to understand what technicians need to be on this. I need to understand, am I confident enough in my ability to monitor and manage these and understand what I'm going to go through? You need to understand the vendors, you need to understand the setup, what protocols are they using? Yeah, is it BGP? Like, what are we doing? Like, a lot of BGP can protect a lot of problems, right? But when you're monitoring, you can see that. And when you see that, you can start seeing things. And I'll get into this, like the difference in availability versus ICMP status update, right? Because we can route around issues. But what the things is there an issue potentially happening because one of them is down? So this saves you time in your onboarding and rollouts. It saves you time to understand your environment, and it allows you to quickly understand who you're going to be working for or how I can address my everyday environment and where do I have gaps? Where do I need to learn more things? Where do I need to have a better understanding? Where do I need a strategy to dive more into my monitoring as well as my management? So where NMS belongs and where it doesn't. So when we deploy all of these that we want to come across here, you want to deploy it out and you want to be able to go across your fleet for consistency. I like to understand what is going on. You get network standardization, you can validate that. I know a lot of times when I came into places and I'm like, all right, well, what's the standardization of that you're working with? What's the compliance requirements of which that you have? And they'll be like, "Oh, yeah, we do naming standardizations, we have VLAN segmentation, we have compliance because we are on HIPAA, we have SOX compliant, we have all these things that are coming across there." And as soon as I discover the environment, I get these crazy names, I get things of which that don't make sense, IPs that aren't aligned for what they said they were. We find man in the middles, right? Like, we find a lot of IoT devices that are crazy, and there's a lot of, "Oh, I didn't know that was happening." Right? And that's something that we should be concerned about, but it's also eye-opening. And if you're not engaging with your monitoring and your management software and you're not dynamic enough to understand that this is a risk, this should be able to help you, right? we need to be able to have the actual routers, switches, firewalls, and our core infrastructure that's going to come across there. And one of the things is there's rare exceptions and that a lot of people have of like, well, what I don't want to monitor everything. It can get expensive. What if there is a critical service that is anywhere connected or on, you better be monitoring it. And you better be able to have a way that you'd be able to actually manage that environment as well. And so one of the things that I like to talk about is I think of it like smoke detectors. So if you're thinking of a smoke detector, do you just put one in your house? I hope not, right? Like you want to be able to disperse this, right? You need to be able to have that understanding so that you can understand when the smoke comes before the fire, right? Well, fire, smoke. But what I'm trying to say is if you have tiny sites or if you have satellite sites that don't have a lot of bandwidth or things like that that are happening, you at least at bare minimum need to have up down status. And that's ICMP, very small, right? Like we need to be able to do that. We can get into SNMP and things later, but one of the things is if you have a critical service, and I need this to be very understood, you have to be able to have visibility and you need to be able to monitor that because if anything is on the other side of that and you were unaware that there's a lost connection, that's going to be looking bad on a reputation. That's going to be looking bad across the board of your service level agreements. That's not something that you want to convey that, oh, I didn't know, right? You don't want that phone call to be like, hey, this is down. I want to know before it goes down, or I want to know immediately. And I want to use my alertings to allow the people that I directly report to, I'm on it. These are the things that we need to set up and work through. So, what to monitor? Core infrastructure, routers, switches, firewalls, right? Like you hear me say that a lot, but also your critical services. And critical services does not just mean applications and things like that. It's servers, it's storage, it's VPN concentrators. It's the actual criticality that's going to allow your company to thrive and also going to be very known if it's not working, right? So these are the things that you want to monitor from a device standpoint. End user touch points. I love endpoints and I love end user touch points because I get so many different people explaining to me what they assume an endpoint is. And so for me, when I'm talking about this, I just wanted to kind of validate it's Wi Fi access points, it's voice over IP phones, it's printers, it's cameras. It's these are the things of which that can touch out right with our users of which that's going to come across there. So that's the devices and things of which that you definitely want to make sure that you can see. And then when we talk about monitoring metrics, that's when it gets fun, right? Because that's when we're going to start actually talking about the uptime, availability, and how do we get those. So ICMP is going to be able to ping a device and tell you it's up and down. That does not tell you availability. I know a lot of people have told me and they're like, hey, it's like, oh yeah, we got up, down. I have a self-wrote tool that I use that tells me if something goes down. Well, how many times did that go down in a month? I don't know. Okay. So how long was it available? I don't know. Well, don't you have an agreement that says that you have to be 95% available? Yeah. How can you prove it? There's a difference. And this is what monitoring allows you to do is to understand these needs and contractual obligations, but also better how to be an advisor and understand how to relay this information that you have their back, right? Like that's the main purpose. CPU and memory load. It seems basic, but so many people just think up down get you by. CPU and memory load can help you tremendously on a network as well as when you're doing critical services. When I look at CPU and memory load and I come into some of the environments that I have came into, I see 80, 90 alerting and it makes no sense to me. And that is because I get it. Like a lot of vendors will put out their 80, 90 because it's industry standard to show something, right? That would come across there. But I have plenty of devices that are working and they have 20% of memory load. They have maybe 30% CPU load. Do you think I want to wait until 80% to know that something is happening with that device? Absolutely not. That is firefighting, folks. You need to be able to understand your environment. You need to get in there. And if you know that something is staying at or below 30, then my warning is going to be at 40. That's when I'm gonna start to investigate. Hey, are they adding something to here? What is this service providing? What is the storage doing? Is there a backup that I didn't know about that's getting still stored in the wrong location? Is somebody installing too many programs that they are not allowed to install? These are the things that you have to think about. 80, 90 is just something that everybody puts out there to help you understand warning and critical. But I also have firewalls that work at 97% CPU load and it is fantastic. It is the best firewall, and it is doing everything of which that it needs to do. And if it is constantly in critical mode and I never adjust that warning level or do anything, it is noise that if that thing goes to 97.5, nobody is going to be aware of. There's a problem. I literally have had a firewall in an environment that ran at 97 for 3 years. And at 97.5, it was because we were getting a lot. They added a new actual they added a new first in first out on their security, and I just went blank, and you guys can tell me in the ACL. There he goes. Comes back to me. So they added a new ACL and it was out of focus, right? Like, so it was actually doing a lot more work than it had to if it was lowered in priority. So what we did was when we looked at that and we could see that it was back building. What else happens, folks? Buffers, right? Like buffers start going up, but nobody was looking at buffers. Nobody understood buffers. Nobody was like, oh no, everything's fine. It's always been red. It's fine. Nothing's there. We were potentially in a mode to where that was a very critical device that if it would have had a buffer overload or if we would have went to max capacity, that would have been a detrimental situation in that government's environment. So these are why we pay attention to these, and I wanna make sure that you understand why it's important to understand your thresholds and why that baseline, your health, right? Understanding your environment so you can actually see and address an anomaly, because that anomaly is there for a reason, right? Define it. I always tell everyone, define an anomaly. It may be something anomal, right? Like it may be something that was like sporadic, a burst, something of which that happened, but I better be able to define it. And if I can't define it, what happens the next time? It becomes noise. Well, the next time could be 100% and we're out and we're firefighting, and that's not a good position that I want to be in. I never want to be on the back of my heels. Interface utilization. You just heard me talk about a burst. I don't know how many times when they're like, "Hey, this is wrong. It's only supposed to be 1,000 megabytes. Da 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 da. This is going across, but it's showing more." Yeah, there's things called bursts of which that can happen. Now you need to look into why this is happening. Let's define it. Let's look back. Let's see the traffic. Let's understand what's coming across here. And then also we can get into connectivity. Because connectivity is how we connect, right? Like we need to understand like how's that connectivity? What is it doing? Is it up? Is it down? How is this going to be able to come across? These are all metrics of which at a at foundational level, folks, because like I said, when we get into 2 and 3, we're just going to get a little bit deeper and a little bit deeper. If these are the ones that you definitely need to be aware of so that you understand the health. This is going to give you that baseline. This is going to give you that, okay, I'm learning my environment. I came into my tool. I'm understanding. I can now create better alerting. I can understand thresholds. I can understand how to convey this to my users, how I can convey this to my clients, how this is actually working for us and not against us. So these are just basic things that foundationally you need to do that we can build upon after that, because we can get into so much more. As you can even see for this screenshot, SNMP opened up so many doors. It's literally like knocking at a device and saying, "Hey, give me everything you got." And then SNMP is like, "All right, oh, I want this out of the box." But then we can go further, right, with SNMP sensors and be like, "Yes, I can actually get this one, this one, this one." You can create, like as you see over here, temperature, current, voltage, status. Where I live, the electric goes off a lot, so I constantly monitor this to understand how my UPS is working, how things are working on the backside. Because if they're not working, I mean, that can prevent me from being able to have an awesome webinar with you guys, right? Like these are the things that we can set up. You have to think of it dynamically. Establishing a baseline and defining normal. So I need to understand if there's an anomaly. I need to be able to look at something and be like, hey, this is tracking correctly, or trending forecast. I love forecast capacity planning, right? If I start seeing storage going up and it's going up steadily, and I can literally sit there and say, like, hey, in a month, we're going to be at max capacity. We need to add some storage over here. Well, that's pretty vital if that's a database storage, right? Like these are some things that we should probably know and be aware of before there's a problem. And then I need to be able to see if like, hey, this thing has been at 30%, but guess what? Overnight, it jumped to 70. Again, with thresholds, right? If we go back, as we were talking about, if we understand the metrics of which that we're looking at, we're able to define when we should look at it versus being firefighting. So if it's been chugging along and it's been 50, and then all of a sudden it's 150 and it's What's going on? What do we do, folks? You guys can put it in the chat too. We define it. What happened? How do we actually do something about this? Who do we need to talk to? Who do we need to make aware? Do we need to budget for storage? Do we need to start looking at other ways? Do we need to make sure that other things are not happening? Was it a legit increase? Did something happen there? Should I be looking at that from a security standpoint? All of these things, right? Like this is what we do when you establish a baseline, you can see an alteration to that. You are able to define and actually say, hey, I noticed something was here. You can tell your clients, notice this. This is what's happening. We all know VCIOs right now are very important in conveying this information. Allow the information to be accurate. If I can go and say, hey, you guys need to be able to plan for storage in the next 6 months based upon what we're seeing here today, that is a much better conversation to have than, hey, you guys are full and you guys are going to have to get something set up and something's going to have to come across there and it's going to be a big cost to you right now. And didn't see this happening. That's not a conversation I want to have. I want to be the MSP provider, or I want to be an internal IT person that actually say, hey, boss, we need to increase budget. We need to think about this ahead of time because I see us coming to a situation where we're going to need this. And I have the data to actually back why we need this. That is a much better conversation to happen months versus the day of. And so when we use these histories, we have smarter thresholds. We're able to detect, we're able to have better conversations. We're better to be able to facilitate these through the information that we're learning, right? And this starts at the foundation, understanding the metrics that you're looking at, question the metrics that you're looking at. Go to, and again, whatever tool that you're using. I know there's plenty of tools that do different segments of this. Look at the user guide, understand what that's telling you. Understand where it could do more for you. Start defining out and creating a strategy for you to be successful. And that is what monitoring is allowing you to be providing you. So, in these scenarios, when we talk about internal IT and MSP, we're still talking about networks, right? And we're still talking about environments. We're talking about server stacks that are coming across there. One of the things that monitoring is going to allow you to do is it's going to allow you the fleet-wide deployment, standard monitoring. And what I'm talking about is like understand your verticals. If you understand that you're in healthcare, if you understand that you're in banking, there are certain things that need to be in place and I need to be consistent. That way when I'm looking at my monitoring tool and I go to the different client sites, I'm able to say this looks the same, or if there's an anomaly, folks, use it. Use the anomaly against the other clients of which that you have. You have data. Why is this one performing so much better than this one? Create that conversation. Be the advisor to that conversation. Maybe they don't have the right hardware. Maybe they need better software. You have the ability to look at your data and make those suggestions so that you have a stronger connection with your clients. And then if you're also an internal IT, and you're monitoring and you're seeing problems of which that is coming across here in different office locations, but you notice that maybe there's a different vendor that's actually providing services at one versus the other, you have data now. This is vital. This is how you actually thrive in making your environments better and more understandable to the audience above you that cares, right? I need more budget because I can prove to you that Meraki is working better than this device, or Palo Alto is working better than this, or GTM is working better than LTM. Like these are the things that I can prove through monitoring that before were just conversations in a boardroom or conversations in an office that you're trying to find the right words, right? To have that conversation to make them understand you need this. Prove that you need it. You're not able to do that without monitoring and visibility. You have to have that visibility, be proactive so those conversations start from a great place and not a firefighting place. This is how you reduce complaints. This is how you reduce the blind spots. This is how you get faster onboarding. And above all, in both of these scenarios, you are building trust with everyone around you. When you can build trust with everyone around you, when you're speaking about problems that are coming across there, it's not looked at as drop off. It's not looked at it, oh, they just need more budget increase, or oh, they're raising their prices again. I'm going to look for someone else. Absolutely not. Understand your metrics, understand your monitoring, Understand your management solutions that you can provide for yourself as well as if you are providing them for clients, so you can have those conversations to build a better tomorrow, and all those conversations that you are having are educated, and they are also understood, and it starts at the foundational layer. We have to have the foundational layer to be able to express what we know through the historical data, understand our environments, better prepare ourselves. When we have the visibility and understand our environments, we are better at security. You are clicking boxes, folks, on CIS controls all the time, right? Like you have data to back it up. If you have cyber insurance, for instance, or if you have a risk management consultant that's working with you, you are proving every day what you are doing to match your obligation to that. You cannot do that just off of a handshake or saying, got it. And one of the things that me being in networking and security, both sides of the ball, is I always hated it when they're like, "Yeah, we have all these plans in place. We have this, we have this, we have this, and we're gonna do this." And I'm like, "Cool. When was the last time you implemented it?" "Well, we haven't." Then you don't have a plan. Like, I am unfortunately being a blue team member as well, when I have gone to places to actually look at compliance and do things, if I hear and you cannot validate through proof that you have not implemented your actual backups, your disaster recovery plans, it's done. I'm going to definitely tell you, you have no plan. And that is a restart, right? That is a restart. That is not a historical. That is something that actually puts you at more risk because now you are seen as a huge actual vendor or attack vector. And that's the problem with that. So some key takeaways that I want to talk about here is as an NMS role, it complements other tools. It's not an either or, folks. Complementary. This is going to give you that holistic view. RMM as well as your PSA. Deploy it everywhere. You've got to be able to see that visibility of which is coming across there. Also, not all devices are created equal. Focus on the metrics that make you get out of the bed. Focus on the metrics that need to have alerts set up on them and then also start defining the problem so that you can be more proactive. And then baselines are early alerts to reduce downtime. Never forget the ability that you have with with the actual deployment that you have, the metrics that you're looking at, the environment. Be proactive. Don't leave them at 80, 90. Get in those metrics. Get in there and be able to do some of the information that you need that's going to help you with your daily tasks. These are some of the things of which that you need to do. These are all building blocks. And with them, we're able to actually build upon and get more into the data, more into the metrics, create proactive situations, understand where things are happening from. You can move from proactive into a more strategic plan. And as I said, we are going to definitely be into a strategic plan on this as we come up in some of the next ones that we have. All right. So you've got some questions. I've got some answers. I would super love to hear your questions because if I'm not able to answer them here, I will answer them later. As I said, I am at 38 minutes, by the way, and I just wanted to call that out. I was able to keep it there. And so, anyways, please feel free to ask questions. And I do want to make sure that you know that our next session on this in the 201, we're going to be diving into more of the traffic patterns as well. We're going to get into the performance, the bandwidth, applying smarter thresholds to cut down the noise, integrations, love integrations. And we're also going to be able to turn alerts on and to get some things that are coming across there. So, yes, Vince, time is definitely important. And I'm trying not to, I appreciate all of you for coming here today and getting a foundational start so that we can really dive into the 201. And then, as I said, the 301 is going to get pretty advanced and gets it more into your complexities like SD-WAN and things along that nature. So if you have any questions about what I've said, please let me know. I'm happy to answer them. And if you do not want to ask questions, because like I said, there's some that hit me up on LinkedIn with questions that they feel are not appropriate or like maybe a little bit don't want to be called out for them. And so they ask me on LinkedIn. Folks, we can go through any question that you're wanting to go here. So don't be shy. And I'm also going to put in here, because I didn't earlier, my email address, because again, I want to make sure that you guys have access because that's what I like to do is help to educate. Oh, great question from Ben. All right. So what's the best place to start in upskilling our techs and getting them trained to be expert in NMS and Domotz. Look at the metrics. So before, foundationally, this is a great start. Glad you're here. Hope you follow us in 201 and 301. You need to understand and see everything. Okay. If you are an MSP, I'm not sure if you're an MSP or if you're internal IT, but if you're an MSP, start thinking about your clients from a couple of different aspects. One that I start with is, what is their vertical? What do they care about? What are your contractual obligations? But also, what are their vendors? All right, cool. So you're an MSP. Great. So be their business advisor. You need to also help your techs to understand how to look at the environment, right? You need to have them to look at the vendors. What skill set is there gaps in? So if you have a predominantly Cisco, which we know Cisco is predominantly dominant, I'm sure that you have techs that are Cisco qualified. If you have Palo Alto that's coming in there, what are the setups? Do they have SD-WAN? Are they getting more into orchestration? These are the areas that you need to define that are your gaps. But monitoring is going to start with, what do they have so that you can actually make that decision, Ben? And that is something that I think is very vital. And that's what I try to instill in people is, what is the environment that they in? And then what are their compliance needs? Do you have somebody that can help you to understand that, to make sure that you're not causing any issues or anything of which is coming across there? Um, Look at how they're using their configuration files. So if you are monitoring their information, you need to be proactively looking at them. Do they have open SNMP as public and private? Like, basic things, right? Like, this is foundational, right? Like, let's start looking at it, because then you can actually start to advise them on how to be more secure, how to align configurations. What is the gold standard configuration? If they're doing different services, or if you're offering packages that are like Office 365, you're getting into storage, you're also doing virtualization. Do you have the techs that are there to support that if something goes wrong? And are they able to understand their monitoring tool in relation to what they're seeing? So definitely dive into your monitoring tool. And this is why I started foundational. Look at it holistically, and look at it from, like, do you understand your tool? Understand your tool, and make sure that you go into your help files. Ask questions to your actual tools to know what that's coming across there, so that you understand the metrics that you're seeing, so you're conveying the right information. So I hope that helps a little bit on how to do that. I like to literally go in there and I start vendor specific first. What is their environment? And then I start with their vertical, and then I start diving into the configurations. So Windows or Linux or Hyper-V? Well, the best one of which that you have is one that you have resources to support it, right? Like, you're only as fast as your collectors and things are going to be able to deploy. So for some people, they're very strong in Windows, and some people are very strong in Linux. Hyper-V gets a little bit more complex on setup, but it's going to last as well and going to come across there. Complexity does not mean that it's worse or bad. It just means that you better be able to understand it, right? So Windows, Linux, Hyper-V, I mean, there's many different ways that you can deploy to. They're going to give you the same value, but invest in knowing your resources for CPU and memory, so that you're able to actually collect information at a high rate, so that you can actually store that. All right. And can we use Domotz without agent if we have a public ID on the sorry, it moved on me, with SNMP available? So you're still going to need to be able to use Domotz with the agent, of which it's going to come across there. We have a box that you're able to have. You're also able to do an agent. Um, this is probably, you guys can get me in the chats, but something that I always get is when people are like, agentless versus agent, and I'm like, SNMP is an agent. A lot of people kind of are like, what? It is. It's installed. It's an agent. So SNMP is itself an agent as well. So it's very low key of which that comes across there. We are working on some solutions to try to look on some things that would be from the cloud, so that you don't have to have anything. So please pay attention. Talk to myself and the product team here at Domotz, as well as your support and sales, because we're constantly looking at feedback to try from different angles to do that. How's the best manage a large deployment for a lot of client, currently 100 plus collector, but we struggle to prove the value to our technicians. Where do we? Okay, so Nicholas, when you're talking about the value to your technicians, is this because they're constantly firefighting? And you can kind of tell me that one, because what I'm seeing from your comment, and I just want to make sure that I'm getting it corrected here, is that you got a lot on your plate, right? And your technicians are like, why should I look over here when I'm struggling to keep up with the things that are at task? This is where you start to get proactive, folks. Use those thresholds, understand your environment so that you can define those anomalies. That's how you're going to kind of remove your text from the fire storm, really, and to actually then be able to look at things more holistically and be able to be calmer in situations and have better discussions. When you are a large environment, this is when you have to definitely understand your metrics, understand the configuration setups of and how they're doing their networks, understand the security, definitely, right? Like we don't want to be a problem, right? Because any connection to a client, especially, is an attack vector. So we need to make sure that we're doing our due diligence of understanding how we're connected. And you do that through NMS. Okay. So you do that because you're able to monitor situations. If I see a ton of bandwidth of which is coming through on one side, I need to look there. Like these is how you get more proactive, Nicholas. Um, let's see. Dan, do you have any information on updates that will be coming in the topology? Oh, we have some updates that are coming out with topology. Send me an email, Dan, because I follow our release notes because we are actively in topology right now and we understand the importance of the visibility and the connections that are there. So send me an email and I will definitely be able to also put you in talk with Chris. He's one of the PMs here that does a lot with the topology. And he would love to hear from you. But absolutely, we are working on that right now. And we have some things that are there. Please pay attention to our release notes. They are amazing. We are trying to do the best that we can to answer and provide you guys with everything as we are opening up a lot more features and abilities. Is the Domotz Academy still a good start for an overview? Yes, because at the end of the day, everything with monitoring is going to help you, right? Like there's a lot of information in which that is out there that is still relevant. Protocols haven't changed, right? Like and something about protocols, folks, like when we talk about ICMP, SNMP is going to help you get the best on your topology as well if you can define those and get those across there. But go through the Domotz Academy. I mean, there's still a lot of good information which that's there, and it's going to give you an awareness right around you of what the tool can do, what it can provide, and then you can get in with our release notes, trial it. I mean, come on. I mean, like, go ahead and give it 14 days, trial it, and look at it yourself, and be able to see, compare, and actively get in there. If you already have Domotz, then go ahead and start looking at those metrics. Do you have them defined? And then if you ever invite me to actually come in and look at your environment, some of you guys have, and I see 80, 90, I'm going to be like, go back to 101, folks. Like, we're going to have to get you on board here because if I see 80 and 90, you weren't paying attention. All right. So, okay, I see there. Junior network engineer here. I love network engineers. So that's how I started. So I finally understand heartbeats for availability as opposed to the yes. That is something that I love that because I say that to some people and they're like, "Oh, it's so basic, Destiny. It's up down status and availability is there." And as you can see, like it's not. It's definitely not. There's a completely different thing there. And like, oh, when I first got my first CCNA, when I was going through there before I got my CCNP, I was just like mind blown, right? And then that's when I started getting into monitoring because I started getting into more network management tools and things. And I started realizing my when I'm at the keyboard changing and doing configurations, there's a whole environment. I mean, like, I don't know if you guys have ever heard of GNS3, Sean, this is for you, but GNS3 lets you set up virtual environments so that you are able to actually set up and play with ideas that you have. Maybe if you want to see if something's going to work differently, if you'd have different router protocols. I love it. I play with it literally at least once a month because I just wanted to kind of and look at SD-WAN and do some stuff. So yeah, I love playing around with things and understanding metrics, right? Like that's a key. But yes, I agree. The Domotz is definitely a game changer. Also what I like about that is that you are able to say it's not me. In environments that I have been at with monitoring tools, they're like every since monitoring's been up, something's running slower, something's doing this. I'm able to pinpoint traffic and I'm able to also segment, right? Like here's my Domotz box, here's the information which is coming across here, and I can prove it's not. Right. And so actually through the monitoring, we're able to prove that that is not a correct statement. So that's something that I think is cool. We have Domotz collectors running in Hyper-V VMs and they reboot along with the other VMs during scheduled times. Do you recommend continuing this? Yeah, you're fine. You're absolutely fine. Never prevent maintenance and the reboots of which that you need to do. Unless you are doing reboots because you're trying to figure out why something's not letting go of memory, then you need to dive into that, right? Like that's something that I've seen too. I came into an environment before where somebody had a literal scheduled reboot or a restart of a service. And I was like, how long have you had that? And they were like, oh, for like a year. And I'm like, what was the problem? Right? And then we found out that they just upgraded, right? Like that complete problem went away. And then it's like, then you don't have these anomalies of which that are coming across there. So all right. So I've seen when deploying a pre-configured and the link is set only you. Is there any chance? Great question, James. I do not know the exact answer on that one at this moment, but I will make sure that I can get this question answered to you. Again, please email me because I will make sure that I have the correct answer to go across there because I'm not sure on that side, and I don't want to accidentally say something that is incorrect. So we're actually working on a lot of the hardware specs and things right now. So you will see more on this, Matt, as soon as we come out to this, probably later on within this year. The Domotz box is great because it's going to allow you to be able to have a direct response to be able to collect data and to know where that data is going and to protect it. But it's also it's Ubuntu, and so it's one of those things where we are upgrading things along there constantly. But depending on your environment, have you thought about getting another Domotz box? And I just mean that because it's you can definitely spread this. Like it's not going to prevent you from doing anything at all. I like to do that anyway because it segments. But on top of it, you can provide, the collector options that we have. But absolutely, the Domotz box themselves, everything has a limitation based upon resources in life. Anything does. So, but the best thing to do is to understand how to use that to your advantage because I like to segment things like for where if I'm going to segment network on one Domotz box or potentially X amount of clients, that's an expansion opportunity for me to implement another box over here so that I can come at it from a different direction or even do a cross so that if you have one go down, you have the other one of which that is still up and you're able to see through traffic and as well as protocols, right? Like BGP, like if something's going down and it's still routing around, then something may look down from this box, but this box is going to show you that it's up because it's able to hit it because it's from a different routable link. And I think that's very important to know that, in the topology, right? Like that's something of that visibility. Love it. Love it, Matt. That's awesome. Is there any end of life monitoring coming soon? Not to my knowledge. So we're a monitor. Oh wait, QNAP. QNAP is but that's more of like on the collector side of it. So that's not there. But on the monitoring, no, it's actually becoming more broad. So and what I mean by that is we here, and I noticed that you mentioned Auvik. The really one of the best parts and what I really love about being here is the scripting ability of which that you have yourself and use AI. AI is there to help you. Come on. But we can use integrators. SNMP, I don't know, like I hate it even when I was at other locations when people would be like, SNMP is no longer giving me data. Like they're going to drop it. They're going to do this or I can't monitor it. That's false. Do an SNMP walk. They may have changed the OID on that. They may have added an OID. They may have been able to do other things, within there in a different actual layer or an OID track. So do an SNMP walk. Is it the value of which you're expecting? Always ask your vendor how to monitor it. And we have so many different ways to monitor. I don't see an end of life of a monitoring of which or capabilities of which that comes across there. So that's something that I want, and that's perfect for this for foundationally because I want you guys to understand SNMP is a protocol. And I know there's more, but I'm just meaning it's the key to say, hey, what all can you tell me? We have out of the box SNMP OIDs that we look at that are industry standards. However, you could go way beyond that. And if there's a change and say we have not updated that out of the box, you are still able to apply that SNMP sensor and to define that OID for yourself. And I like to ask vendors, especially like when new vendors come out, like, if this is a new thing that you're doing, how do I monitor that? And they usually will be like, this is the metric that I look for.
it can also be online, and then they'll tell you the OIDs, and then you can just manually put in the OIDs and set those things up, of which, and then you're gathering that statistical information and those metrics. That's giving you more insight. So one of the things that I super love about being here is because we do not limit you in that. We actually enable you to do that. What we're trying to do is get more, user friendly and user things of which that are out there to make things like super out of the box and easy. But again, you can take this to the advanced level times 10 here with so the integrators and some of the things of which that we allow you to do with the scripting as well as SNMP tracking. And I seen somebody say, how do you say Domotz? So this is a funny story. I say Domotz. However, our CEO and the founders and stuff say Domotz. And I felt like that small when I heard them say that. So I just roll with both of them because it's a bots. I like that, Edward. I was like, all right. So I to each their own. As I tell you with your network monitoring, make it yours. So whatever cool way that you want to say our name, yeah, potato tomato. I agree. So we can have some fun with this. But yeah, no, it's whatever you're wanting to make it. Make it your own and enjoy it and empower it and love it. I love these questions. This is where you have to be an actual kind of an advisor for yourself, right? So when we're looking at the reports, you need to understand what are your KPIs, what are you being looked at. If you're looking at a stakeholder to tell a story of your metrics, okay, for instance, a firewall that's coming at capacity, or the ACLs of which that you are mandated to put in is causing buffering, or it's actually allowing the CPU to go to critical zone of like 98, 99, or whatever your critical zone may be. You need to be able to convey the importance of that, not only from a network reliability, but what critical services are on there. You need to be able to showcase what would happen if that metric was to implode or to explode that would come across there. But more importantly, you need to have a discussion with them to say, hey, I need to be able to tell you, like, this is presented as a problem. This is why we need a better device. If you have a device, like, say, if you're also trying to do like a compare on two devices and which one to buy, which one's performing the best, which one has the strategy online that you know that the hardware is going towards. You need to be able to look at those metrics and showcase forecast planning, Sean. So look at forecast planning and how to use metrics. Ask AI. Use Google as well. But that allows you to set a precedence to prevent a problem later. And that's like exactly what you need to do with your stakeholders. I'm not exactly sure on which story or metric that you're trying to tell, but you need to look at what they need to know and what you're trying to go for. So if it's a budget spend, if it's a new compliance that which that you need to implement, is it an upgrade? Upgrades, folks, use your NMS for upgrades. So important. You can showcase if a vendor says, if you do this upgrade, CPU will drop 10%, prove it. Do the upgrade. Did it drop at 10%? Did it not? That proves your actual upgrade. Or if you did something and you can show that it radically changed the behavior on that device and you're routing around situations, you're able to show that why you need to roll back. Use your NMS. That is what it's for. It is showcasing your work and displaying how you're able to define your environment, good or bad. Also, so this is my favorite one. So, network engineer, let me put it this way, someone who solves problems in a way you don't understand. One. Number two, a person who does precision guesswork based on unreliable data provided by those of questionable knowledge, also known as genius wizard. That's what it says. All right, folks. Again, I'm going to put my email address in here because I love helping people solve problems. If you need a question, if you need anything, if you're struggling, Sean, if you need some, just mentorship or to do something, I am here. Please be able to reach out to me. I want to be able to have that connection. I want to be able to understand that we're solving your problems and I want to talk to you. So absolutely, please reach out to me and I will make sure that if you have questions and if I can't answer them, I will get them answered them for you. And yes, yep, I know. I get a lot of people off of LinkedIn. I just know that I'm not always on there. I just wanted to make that clear. I'm not always on there, I promise. All right. Thank you all so much. I hope to see you guys in the 201. I am loving diving into this and I hope I'm making this clear. If you have any suggestions for me as well to help, if I'm not conveying anything correctly please let me know. I want to I want you to embrace how this it can actually help you, and it helps everyone, and I want you to be as passionate about monitoring and management as I am, because I guarantee you it's gonna help you to do better things tomorrow, and let's together create a strategy. See you later.